Mercedes India has launched Mercedes-AMG CLE 53, and to talk more about it and a lot more, I have Mr. Santosh Iyer with me. Santosh,
Thanks,
thank you
Mugdha,
for
for
joining
joining us as well.
Thank you. Let's talk about AMG's CLE 53 first. So, how important is this product in your lineup?
See, for us, AMG has always been special because we also set up performance centers, dedicated teams, lot of customer experiences. On one side, we have a GLC 43 AMG which does well, and then of course we had the C43, the C. But there was always a gap at this price point, and also for a customer for a practical car. So the strength of AMG is, of course, you can take it to your office and also drive it on the track. So this car combines practicality of a C-Class and the luxury of an E-Class and the performance of an AMG. So I think that's a great combination. So for us, we have very high expectations. Also looking at the customer demand, the pricing is at a sweet spot of 1.35 crores. So somewhere between the E and the GLS. So that way, it just sits in the right sweet spot for customers to decide who will drive the car themselves. So we have very high expectations, I would say, considering also the initial response. Ever since yesterday night we showed this car, I think we have been having a lot of requests at dealers as well as at our Instagram feeds.
So, what is your expectation for growth this year? Because for the mass market segment, it's a bit muted. What's happening in the luxury market?
So if you look at our last quarter, we grew by 10%, which
Yeah.
is quite good and positive. But if I look at the prognosis for the next 2 quarters, which is a festive season, last year the festive season was significantly strong. You know, we had the best ever festive season. So the one thing is to cross that benchmark. We have some headwinds from a sentiment perspective, the tariff, the geopolitical topics, but more importantly, we have price rises also. You know, we did 2 price rises already. The second one was mitigated because of the RBI rate cut. So to some extent, the EMIs didn't change for the customer. But the third one is coming in September, and we still are a long way away from the euro, which is at 101 now, because the rupee has depreciated by 12%. We have hardly done 2-3%. And if you want to reach the 12% to compensate from a starting point of last year, it's a long walk. So with that, I would still keep the growth expectation as flattish or maybe single digit. But yeah, we are trying to do everything to mitigate it. It's something which is beyond us. Of course, I think the broad macroeconomy factors are all positive. If you look at corporate earnings, even capital markets are stable. GDP growth rates are also there. So there is nothing fundamentally which has changed. But I think that's something which may, not continue that growth at that double-digit kind of a level.
What is your expectation for the performance side, the AMG side?
So here, for us, the top-end vehicle segment, this year we committed 8 launches. All the 8 were in the top-end vehicle segment, this being the last one. And if you see here, last quarter, again, we grew by 20% in the top-end segment. There is a degrowth in our entry portfolio, but if I look at the top end, I think you can't ask more with a 20% growth.
Yeah.
This is there. There is a lot of customers who want to also get in, look at new cars, multiple cars in their household. So we are still completely, I would say, not bullish, but very optimistic on the growth of this top end, and also premiumization happening of the car. The average selling price is going up as well.
Yeah. Now, what is the trend in fuel? Do you see diesel taking more momentum? EVs, I believe, are on the slow track. How is it going on the powertrain?
Not really. If you see EVs last year to this year, last year
Yeah,
our
at least
penetration was
internationally
4.
they are on the slow track.
Internationally, yes,
Yeah.
but it is also based on the regulatory framework. In India, thankfully, there is a big drive for decarbonizing by using different methods, EV being one of them. So the GST rate, the many states offering benefits, all of this adds to a very great TCO argument, cost of ownership argument, because purchase price, running cost, and therefore you can see the penetration has doubled from 4 to 8%. I think that's incredible. Even the mass market going up from 2 to 4. I think it's happening. Can the pace be more? Answer can always be yes. But I think let's leave it to the customers to decide. We should not now, push this beyond a point. Our responsibility is to introduce new cars. Globally, we introduced the CLA. I think you drove the car
Yes.
as well. We will bring that to India. We will bring more and more EV powertrains as well to India. But let the customer decide the pace of transformation. In terms of mix, diesels are still strong. We still have 40% of our portfolio on diesels, 8% is EV, and the balance is all petrol. So I think it's too early if some people think to write off diesels as well.
Yeah. That brings me to E20 petrol. There is a lot of confusion, lot of concern amongst customers. Are you also seeing some people asking you questions about petrol?
A lot actually. But to be fair, the government already informed stakeholders way back in 2020 that there is a targeted roadmap. Also, it's not 0 to 20. E10 was always there, and then we are going to the E20 kind of a scenario. We from Mercedes-Benz, ever since we transitioned to BS6 way back in 2018, we have ensured all cars are E20 compliant. So that's the starting point. We have got the certification also in 24. In fact, let me tell you, even the CBU cars, the CLE 53 AMG is a E20 compliant car, and G63 as well, and all these cars. I think it's our responsibility to ensure that we follow whatever is the legislative process. On the other side, older cars now that comes before 2018, before BS6. There I can also say that we checked with our R&D colleagues. They said all of our cars that we have sold are materially compliant, which means gaskets or engine heads or anything else should not be a problem. But the calorific value of the fuel changes, which may have an impact on the performance on the older cars as such. But I don't think a normal customer will even feel it or realize if at all there is any change in the performance values on those cars. So in that sense, in our segment and for Mercedes-Benz cars, there is no impact.
The other concern that customers have is the fact that whether their warranty will be void or will it still be honored. What is Mercedes' take on that?
No, we will completely,
because the manual says E10 compliant.
Yeah, but we will completely, as I said, our cars are compatible to E20. I don't think we will use that as an excuse for any warranty claims. But yes, if it's an adulterated fuel, we have to be, then it's a different issue. But as long as an E20 fuel is used, we will honor all warranty, and these cars are all capable to run on an E20 fuel.
So are you planning to maybe give a reassurance to your customers, maybe have a communication line open with them that if they have any fears?
No, surely. We are informing our dealer network partners as well, because they are the first point of contact for the customer, and they will of course run this awareness so that customers become aware that this is not something that our customers need to be worried about. I think this is where we take care of the regulations in advance, so we are able to be prepared. The good news is also, we have done 200,000 cars, 2 lakh cars in India in the last 30 years. The 1 lakh cars have been sold in the last 6 years. Most of them are BS6. So anyways, everything is compliant. So in that sense, our car park is well protected.
The other aspect is of the vintage cars, because you have India has a lot of classic cars,
especially
classic Mercedes. Mercedes. You yourself, you've been here for 30 years. So what happens to those, and what advisory will you give them?
No, I would say, these are like pets and babies for our customers. Even today, I find many customers using higher octane rating fuel on that car because they're spending a lot of money to maintain that car, and these cars are not for the daily commute, right? So in that sense, I would not now go back into history to see whether they can be compliant with these fuels. I would rather advise them there is still higher octane fuel available. Let's use that, because these are more for the parades, for the showcase, for the one or the other Sunday drive. And here I would still, because we have not tested, so I don't want to commit something, I would still advise to use higher octane fuel, which is also available in the market at a slight premium.
Yeah. Now, with so much geopolitical tension going on, how's it impacting your business? And of course, there are talks of Europe FTA as well. So how do you think that's going to impact your business?
For us, we are a global player. We have been there, and from Germany to US, I think that is close. So there, it should not happen. From the parent company, I think we are sorted because that FTA is already done.
Yeah.
Coming to India, anyways, we don't export, but our customers actually have a lot of interest in the US. So that may have a short-term impact on the sentiments. But I was speaking to one of the large exporters to the US last week in Pune, and he said, hey, this we have to factor into our business. We cannot now be so fragile that one change affects the entire business model. Over a period of time, India businesses will find its own way. So in the long run, maybe, and else also these tariffs have to come into effect. These are only still indications. So we have to wait and see. It's a volatile world, and we have to see how that impacts. On the UK FTA or EU proposed FTA, it's a fallacy that car prices are going to crash. Let me give two things. Number one, 90% of the cars we locally produce at a 15% duty. Then comes the 10% of these exotic cars. I would highly encourage anyone to go to our German website and look at the price of the CLE 53 AMG. In Germany, it's around 89,000 euros. which now you take away the 15-20% duty, it comes to 75,000 euros. If I use the formula of social media, 75,000 euros into 110% duty plus 48% GST, this car should be 200,000 euros, which is 2 crores. We are selling at 1.35. You know, the pricing is done based on what the market can absorb. It's not that we as OEMs are product-based pricing, and therefore the simple calculator mechanism of taking the current price, deducting it and thinking the car prices are going to crash, I think is also too overstretched. So we are also, this takes time. Exchange rate devaluation is 12%. Let's say it continues for 2 years, it will be 24%. So people who wait, they may end up paying 20% more on the same car even in 2 years' time. So I think a lot has been made about FTA. For us, we see FTA as a golden opportunity for India to participate in the global market. A lot of exports. I think Indian OEMs, let me talk about automotive industry. The component industry is a very highly matured, high quality, low cost. This is an opportunity for India to participate in maybe the developed ecosystem, get the money into India, and if economy grows, our sales grow. So I more see from that perspective than from cheaper cars and cheaper pricing.
Now, one more aspect of what's happening in a global world order is this rare earth magnets. That has become a cause of concern. Has it impacted your business? And what do you see how the road panning out? Because now Prime Minister is also going to China. So do you think the solution can emerge fast?
So in our business, our supply chain colleagues have really managed well. We have no issues on this. We are getting our supply chain for all the components in the car, so we are not affected. But in general, as I said, as a multinational, we would always welcome free trade. You know, you cannot have too many boundaries. Of course, national interest is also there on many sectoral areas. But at some point of time, let's be competitive, participate in the global ecosystem, because the money lies in other consumers' pockets. How do we get that money to India? How do we make India prosperous? And in that, we all participate in that ecosystem. So I think with that intention, the government is also taking the right steps to open more and more FTAs. We had Australia, we had the Middle East. Imagine the UK now, it takes time, but whenever it happens, and if the EU FTA also happens, the access of those markets, I think, is important for Indian businesses. We cannot always depend on Indian consumer and the purchasing power of India. We have to go out and also do that. And I'm sure the Indian automotive and as well as the component ecosystem is very mature. So the best thing will be about India participating in the global ecosystem, and that includes even China or any other markets as such. So we always welcome any free trade movements.
You know, you mentioned China. Every time I've read over the last 3-4 years now, it seems that Chinese car manufacturers have grown leaps and bounds both in terms of numbers and in terms of technology. How do you see European players and also Indian players competing with China?
See, we have to learn to compete. I think the protectionism is not an answer for competition. I think that we are all, responsible to our shareholders as companies. If I can talk about Mercedes-Benz, we are now unveiling the biggest ever product offensive in our history. You know, a lot of models. If I get the numbers right, 13 billion euro being invested. There is not many automotive companies which exist which has a 30 billion in cash ready to fight this and to invest in technology. You know, last week I was with my some of our dealers in MBRDI in Bangalore, and I could see the amount of tech coming from India for the world and also from Mercedes-Benz. It's unbelievable. AI, ML, you know, the amount of technology we are working on this car. We don't need to be apologetic. And for Mercedes-Benz, I say we invented the car, we continue to reinvent, and we will reinvent it again. So that's our job, and we should not now think too much on competitors. I think we set the pace.
I like how you are always ready for a good challenge. Thank you so much, Santosh.
Thanks for joining, Mugdha. Thank you. Thanks a lot.